All right, if you're in pharmacy here in Sri Lanka, or even thinking about it, listen up. There's a piece of legislation that's basically the foundation for so much of what you'll do. It's the Poisons, Opium, and Dangerous Drugs Ordinance. So, in this explainer, we're going to deconstruct it piece by piece and figure out what it actually means for you on the ground.
Let me start by asking you a question. When I say the words dangerous drug, what's the first thing that pops into your head? I bet you're thinking about things like addiction, physical harm, maybe the damage it does to society. And look, you're not wrong. But is that the full picture when you're the one in the white coat?
Because that's the thing. In your world, the world of pharmacy practice, your gut feeling or common sense, well, it isn't enough. Your understanding has to line up perfectly with a very specific, very rigid legal definition. And getting that distinction right, it's everything.
So let's break that down. On one side, you've got the everyday definition of a dangerous drug, based on how harmful we think it is. But the legal definition is totally different. It's not about a general idea of danger, it's a black and white list of specific plants and substances spelled out in the law. The law doesn't really care about our opinions, it cares about what's on that list.
And that brings us right to the main event. The Poisons, Opium, and Dangerous Drugs Ordinance, or PODDO for short. This is the rulebook. It governs pretty much everything, from who can grow these plants to who can sell the drugs. And to really get the rules, you first have to understand why the rules exist in the first place.
See, this ordinance isn't just a big book of don'ts. It actually has 5 clear goals. Number 1, protect public health. That's a big one. It also aims to shut down illegal trafficking and control the cultivation of the plants at their very source. But, and this is key, it also makes sure there's a legal, regulated path for these substances to be used in medicine and science. All of this is aimed at the final goal, reducing drug abuse overall. Every single rule we talk about today connects back to one of these 5 points.
So, let's go right to the source. The ordinance, specifically in Section 26, points its finger at 3 very specific plants. You can think of them as the natural factories for some of the most potent substances on Earth. We're talking about the poppy plant, the coca plant, and the hemp plant.
First on the list is the poppy plant, Papaver somniferum. This is the plant that gives us opium. And from opium, we get heavy hitters like morphine, heroin, and even codeine. Now, the legal stance in Sri Lanka on this is crystal clear. Growing this plant without official permission is absolutely forbidden. And possessing what comes from it? That's a serious criminal offense. There's no wiggle room here.
Next up, we have the coca plant. You probably know this one as the source of cocaine, a really powerful stimulant. And, you guessed it, just like the poppy, growing it is illegal in Sri Lanka. If you're caught extracting its alkaloids or possessing cocaine, you are facing some very severe legal trouble.
And the third plant is hemp, or cannabis sativa. This is where things like ganja and hashish come from. The law is strict here too. Cultivating, possessing, and trafficking are all criminal acts. But, and this is a really important but, notice that little exception? There's a carve-out for authorized use in medicine or research. That's a small but critical detail where your professional role becomes so important.
Okay, we've covered the plants. Now let's drill down even further into something that's super relevant for pharmacy practice. We need to talk about crude, dangerous drugs. It's a specific legal term for the raw, unprocessed stuff. And believe me, the law is extra careful about how these are handled.
So, what in the world are crude, dangerous drugs? Well, it's pretty much what it sounds like. It's the natural narcotic substance taken right from the plant with very little, if any, processing. The key thing to remember is that these materials have super high concentrations of the active stuff, the alkaloids. That's what makes them so powerful and, well, so dangerous.
The textbook example here is raw opium. We're talking about the sticky, milky latex that's scraped right off the poppy pod. It's not a single chemical, it's a natural cocktail of alkaloids. Morphine is the big one, of course, but you've also got codeine and thebaine in there. This is the source material, not a finished product.
So if you put your pharmacist hat on for a second, you can see why the rules have to be so tight. Raw opium is unrefined, which means its potency can be all over the place. It's got a very high narcotic content, and it's incredibly addictive. All of those factors together scream handle with extreme caution.
So let's bring this home. What does this actually mean for you in your day-to-day job? The rule is simple and it's non-negotiable. You cannot dispense crude, dangerous drugs like raw opium in a community pharmacy, period. Their use is locked down for government-approved medical or scientific work only. This is a bright red line you can never, ever cross.
And just to really let that sink in, I want you to look at this quote. This isn't just legalese, it's a serious, serious warning. If you have these substances without the proper authorization, it's not a slap on the wrist, it is a major criminal offense that could completely derail your career and your life. The stakes are incredibly high.
And you know, all of this leads to the fundamental challenge of your profession. You're there to care for patients, to meet their needs. But at the same time, you are an officer of the law in a way, with a strict legal duty to follow these rules to the letter. So the real question, the one you'll be answering every single day you're on the job, is this: how do you balance those two things? How you walk that tightrope will define your entire career.